Hi, I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's Mystic Minute is different versions of reality. All you have to do is look at the news today, and you will see all sorts of bizarre, different opinions and viewpoints. And you'll see people protesting with angry signs, and they're promoting their reality, which is the right one. And obviously, that means your reality is the wrong one. Or you're watching that and you're going, what planet are they from? Their reality is definitely wrong. And if you've ever traveled, you've stepped off the plane and you've gotten into a tuk-tuk and you've gone into town and you are in a different version of reality. Here's the thing. All of those realities are valid. All of those realities are real to the people who occupy them. And here's the bigger picture, is that there are lots of different realities. There are lots of people playing in those realities, and then there are lots of different levels of awareness within those realities and outside of those realities. When you start to operate your life from a greater perspective, shift your perspective from just being the body and the personality that you have to being the greater consciousness that you are, it shifts your awareness about all of these different realities. It shifts your awareness to what this planet is and what your part in it is. This planet is an adventure in density and effort. It is a Disneyland. It is not a school from my perspective, from my little morphic field, my little version of reality. It's not a school, but it is a playground. It is here, it is meant to be physically experienced. It's a full immersion experience game for myself as consciousness. It's meant to be filled with density and effort and dichotomy and polarity and the opposite of who I essentially am. It's the opposite of who you essentially are. And you're creating it moment to moment. And there are different versions of reality depending on how you are creating it or where you are creating it from. If you're creating it from a level of unconsciousness, like I am just my body and personality, and I'm just sort of stumbling through life and feeling frustrated and wish that I could change, fix, or manipulate this reality. That's an experience that you're having. That's an energy field that you're existing in. You can shift your perspective up to that. I know that I can create my reality through my thoughts, and I am going to do my affirmations every day, and I'm going to work on my mindset, and I am going to step into this reality and claim this day. And that's another way of doing things. That's another way of experiencing it. I have some control over my reality. That works to a certain extent. I can have a certain amount of accomplishments doing that. It's a huge quantum leap to shift to viewing these different versions of reality from the greater consciousness that you are. So when you view reality as consciousness and realize that everything is a creation of consciousness, suddenly it completely changes your way of interacting in the world. There is no need to change, fix, or manipulate anything out there. In fact, the things that you desire might shift, the things that you want might shift, or the things you've been trying so hard to achieve, you suddenly drop the effort and reality reorganizes in a way more perfect than you could imagine. Here's an example of shifting from one version of reality to another, is that until a couple months ago, I lived in this wonderful house that was built in 1905. It was a craftsman house in a historic district. It was just lovely to walk past these different eras of houses, these Victorian houses and these houses from the teens and the 1920s, and these old growth trees. They were so huge you could not put your arms around the trunks. They had been there several hundred years. And circumstances unfolded and reorganized for me that I found myself in a different historic area that I wouldn't have defined as historic because it was built in the 1950s. And different kinds of old growth trees, they certainly aren't 100 feet around. I'm pretty certain they could be close to 100 years old, some of the ones around here, and probably more. It is a completely different vibe. It's a completely different area. And because it has its own little police force, its own little town, the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. So when you drive into this suburban neighborhood, you slow down, and it's like you enter a different morphic field, a different reality. Now, there are lovely people that live here, but there is just this feeling of shifting into a different decade. Feels a little weird at first, but really appreciating the quiet and calm vibe that it provides in the midst of an otherwise pretty busy city. We are existing in different realities all the time, and we shift in and out of different realities all the time. If you look back at your own life, your concepts and your belief systems and the vibe you were when you were a little kid between living at home and going to school were really, really different than you experienced or had when you were in college and living away from home for the first time. And what you might feel or experience or believe is true now is totally different than what you felt, believed, or thought was true, 5, 10, 20 years ago. One of the things that is happening is that we are going through a collective consciousness shift. And from our body personality levels, we feel like we are raising in vibration and we are gaining a more global awareness. From the perspective of consciousness, it's really consciousness coming more into form. So you are able to embody your physical form more than you ever have before. And it gives you a heightened sensitivity and a greater awareness in the world as well. You are able to access yourself as consciousness, which is the cosmic internet. To a greater degree, you're able to download more of that information. Still can't bring all of that into form. It still blows your mind to a certain degree because as consciousness you exist outside of time and space, and that's a little bit hard to wrap your mind around in this reality where your body is dictated by going from past to the future and physical limitation. One of the things that happens as you're going through this consciousness shift is that you will notice other aspects of consciousness, friends, loved ones, acquaintances, relatives, neighbors, may not be an energy match for the reality that you are expanding to. You might find things that you were simpatico with no longer feeling comfortable. There's actually a natural flow to this where people sort of come into your reality and disappear out of your reality. Gosh, I haven't talked to that person in a long time. I haven't seen their posts on Facebook or whatever. Because you've gone through an energy shift and they've just shifted out of your version of reality. Or you might find people in your version of reality irritating because you're no longer an energetic match. The thing that I find when you start to view reality from this greater aspect of consciousness, though, there is this expansive appreciation for all aspects of reality. And there's this expanded love and compassion for people who are in a more uncomfortable and seemingly less conscious version of reality, though at their essence they are still consciousness. They may just be acting unconsciously. It is part of the game that they are playing on this planet Earth. You're over enjoying store tours and they're getting soaked on Splash Mountain. When you are resisting and judging other people's versions of reality, it indicates that you're not coming from this greater perspective of consciousness, but you are coming from your own little lenses of unconsciousness, your own little smeared with Vaseline lenses. When you drop your attention away from those outside influences, irritations, and shift your attention to within, to your own presence, which is immense. It allows reality to reorganize around you in a way that is bigger than you could imagine. You can go from discomfort and sleepless nights to blissful acceptance. You can be sitting in your usually stressful, caffeine-induced business meeting with the serenity of a Buddhist monk. When you shift your perspective to navigating your life as consciousness, life becomes a fun game to play. It becomes an experience filled with curiosity and wonder. Things that used to frustrate you or stump you stop holding any energy for you. You're able to just let it go. And if you like these videos, you can subscribe to them on YouTube. You can also sign up below to get them in your inbox. If you want to know more, my website is joan-newcomb.com. I put out a weekly radio show and podcast. I write a weekly blog and newsletter. I do meetups around the Puget Sound in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, and University Place. And if you want to know more about shifting through different realities and how to navigate your life effortlessly from an expanded perspective as consciousness and have reality unfold in ways beyond what you could possibly imagine, go to joan-newcomb.com and check out my coaching programs. So go to joan-newcomb.com and I'll see you in another few days with another Mystic Minute.